welcome once again to the Tabletop RPG Super-Stream, today supporting the Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund. I am Jeff Stormer, your host. I have just been thrown over from me in the future, to which I find I once again get to say my favorite words that I get to say all the time, which is, thanks, future me. So I am sitting down here today with my good friend, Fabby Garza. Fabby, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Every time that I get a chance to play with you, I jump at the opportunity.
I am genuinely so, it means so much to hear that because I truly feel the same way. And I'm so excited we're getting to sit down today to play a 2-player superhero game, which is like all of my favorite things in the world all at once. I could not be more excited.
I have a little experience playing superhero games.
A little bit, maybe. Look at that. Oh my God. I didn't realize you got an actual trophy for that.
Yeah, it lights up. I don't have it plugged in, but it lights up.
No, it does. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's somewhere here.
That's so cool. Oh my God. I'm immediately jealous.
The problem is I have so many things, but yeah, it lights up. It's good. I have to turn it off because the cats in the middle of the night start going at it, so that's why. But yeah,
that's so cool. I didn't Slugger King made it to the last like the semifinals of last year's or the last March of the 2022 March Maskedness, and I didn't realize there was a trophy involved. And in retrospect, I would have gone so much harder.
I don't know if I knew there was a trophy involved, but I was like, okay, yeah, no.
There would have been some real dirty pool if I had known that there was a fucking trophy involved. Oh my God. Thank you so much for showing me that. That has made my entire night.
I was like, well, we're doing superheroes. When else am I going to get the chance to be like, yeah.
That's so cool.
I won this in-character tournament as voted for by my peers.
It's incredible. This is the absolute side note that is like, I love March Maskedness just as a concept and a thing. Getting to watch it play out is so much fun.
Yep.
So yeah, we are playing a 2-player superhero role-playing game. Today we are playing We Saved the World Once. It is a 2-player role-playing game about former friends. The premise is that we are people who have saved the world once. We saved it together and we must do it again. However, we are no longer friends. We are going to explore our relationship, past and present, and the reasons why we had a falling out. Ultimately, we are going to ask the question, after everything we've gone through, are we able to work together again? These are big emotional things, and I am excited for a sad game and for the excuse to be sad.
I'm wearing makeup. I can't wait for it to fall off with the tears.
I'm so excited for this. Let's go. All right. So I have a deck of cards in front of us.
Yeah.
I guess before we do that, Fabby, is there anything you would like our audience to know about?
I should say hi. I was just like, no, I'm with my friend Jeff. We're playing a game.
We're just rocking and rolling. And then I was like, oh yeah, you should probably introduce yourself and plug things.
You mean everyone doesn't know who I am? I am Fabby Bear Garza. You can find me on Twitter at Fabby_Garza. I have everything I do there, but more concretely, my current projects, I do a lot of things. I've written for games. I've written for Pathfinder. I've also done sensitivity consultant in games. I've done freelance RPG stuff. I have worked in games. I worked 2 years for Activision. I currently not doing much. I have Eidolon Playtest, which is a weekly podcast where we playtest basically version 2.0 now of Eidolon, Become Your Best Self. We're doing Disco Ska. I'm in the Disco campaign. It's in the 70s. It's very like, what if Scooby-Doo met Persona? Met JoJo's and Super Queer. That's basically what in the 70s. That's basically what we're doing. That's my only big project right now. Other than I have another project, another podcast in the works that hopefully will come out soon. So keep an eye out on my Twitter feed. Yeah.
I love Eidolon. Truly, the game, the podcast, it makes me so unbelievably happy. It just it just fucking rules is the thing.
It's my favorite thing. We've been doing it for over 2 years now. 2021? No, 2020. We started in 2020. So yeah, 3 years now. It's my favorite thing to do. I love it so much. Pop and Rock, which are the first 2 seasons, mean the world to me. And we've gone to do a bunch of little mini seasons, and now we're doing Disco and Ska, and I'm having so much fun. Last session I recorded, it was I had to like go sit down and not and like be stressed for like 2 hours about the consequences of my actions. Which is just the best feeling.
That's the best, like,
yeah.
that's the best shit. Like, truly, like, it's so funny because I explained this to my friends who don't like know role-playing games, and I'm like, yeah, I played a game, and then I just sat quietly for a while because I was fucked up, and they're like,
Yeah.
Jeff, I don't understand how this is like a fun activity, and I'm like, it's the fucking
great.
best.
It's the best. I don't want to spoil what happens because it will be coming up. Ooh, is it this? Yeah, it's coming up. It came out I'm bad with time. I think it's coming out 2 weeks from now for Patreons, and then 3 weeks from now for everyone else. But my character Casey sure makes a choice that I had to go like, I wouldn't choose this, but my character, this makes sense. And then I had to like, I was laying in bed, like eyes open, just like kind of numb, but like thinking about consequences, just like, yep, that sure happened.
That games are so much fun.
I love games.
I love
Games
them so much.
good.
Do you want to play a superhero game right now?
Hell yeah.
All right. So yeah, we are playing We Save the World Once. We are former friends who are coming together to save the world. I have a deck of playing cards in front of us. I have this lovely superhero deck of playing cards that I have shown on other segments, and so our viewers might be sick of me showing, but too fucking bad. So what's going to happen is, because we are playing separately, traditionally we would have like a hand of cards, and we would kind of choose the question that we most wanted to answer. We're going to hack that a little bit for remote play. I have this deck of cards in front of me. I'm going to flip the top 2 cards of the deck, and then we'll go from there and kind of present us the questions that we can explore.
Cool.
We split the deck into 2 segments. One of them is our spades cards have been separated out. We have drawn 6 of them. They are our, I'm consciously not looking at the cards on the fronts of the cards. They are our shift deck, and they represent like shifts in our relationship. We also have all of our other cards shuffled into one major deck, which I have shuffled. And how this is going to work, mechanically, is we are going to put 2 cards in front of us. If they are different suits, we are going to answer the question that is the higher of the 2 values. If they are the same suit, we throw them both aside and we answer a shift question.
Okay.
Before we do that, though, we need to get to know our characters a little bit. Which kind of just means, like, in very broad strokes, like we're going to figure out a lot of details as we go. We need to know what the nature of our relationship is and our characters' names and pronouns, as well as like general setting stuff, as well as the threat that is bringing us together. I'm feeling like superhero is the way to go, both for the theme of the stream as well as like just stuff that we like.
Yeah. Before anything else, I don't know if we've had this conversation. So one of my favorite genres of superhero fiction that I have barely gotten the chance to play with is the magic side of superheroes.
Oh shit, absolutely. I love the magic side of superheroes.
Yeah. Like John Constantine is one of my favorite superheroes of all time. I have an OC that's like a Mexican daughter of John Constantine. No, maybe one day Indy will let me do that. We've talked about this. But like that's the stuff like Black Alice, and all that stuff. Both DC and Marvel, but mostly DC. I always like the magic of DC felt more magical.
And there's something very like. There's something very unknowable about the DC. Like it's something where like so many of the characters are these like oddball, like. There's like Doctor Strange in Marvel who feels like he's got a handle on it, right? And
it feels like he's working on systems. It feels like he can do all this stuff, but like it feels like there's a reasoning for why he can do this what energies he taps forward, what he does, and then on the other side you have like John Constantine grabbing a node, writing some words, burning it, and suddenly that saves the day. And,
And like,
what? It's magic.
I think so much about one of my favorite DC books ever written, which is Shadow Pact.
Shadow
The
Pact?
Shadow Pact fucking rules.
So good. Shadow Pact was one of my first comic books.
You have no idea how happy this makes me to
Yeah.
learn. Like, it's one of those books where when you find someone else that
Champ,
likes
baby.
it, it means the world, because
Yeah,
not a lot
yeah.
of people read that, and so it makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we've got a
yeah.
vibe immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Superhero, but like magic stuff, not like super on the limelight, kind of more down low, doing the
and like barely
dirty
keeping
things.
the magic in check,
Yeah.
right? Like, it is like magic is a thing that you do not fuck with. We are fucking with it out of necessity.
Yeah.
And like we do not know how this is going to interact with the world at large.
Oh.
So I am thinking about characters, and I'm thinking about that kind of a space. And so, like, do you have thoughts on like the kind of character that you want to bring to the table? Just like very broad strokes.
Yeah.
A lot of our character backgrounds are going to come up and play.
I think I'm gonna pick. I think that I've heard a lot of people that do actual play do, and I have never done this before. I'm gonna pick up an old OC of mine, maybe my first superhero.
Love
OC.
it.
One of the first. Her name. I'll think about her like civilian name, but the superhero name she used to go by, because I don't think she goes by anymore. This was when she was trying to be superhero, probably at the beginning of her story. It was Summoner.
Love it.
She, she can summon something from something, like weird creatures. Is it hell? Is it another dimension? Is it something? I don't know. She just makes little fucked up dudes. And when I play Shin Megami, you know about Shin Megami Tensei?
I think I'm going to play. You know what? You have inspired me to do the exact same thing and reach into my old OC superhero. Like, I'm pulling on threads.
Yeah.
I am going to pull on the magical Green Lantern knockoff character that I came up with in high school, whose name is Dragon Ring.
Oh my god!
Who's listen, when we're 16, we think certain things are extremely cool. Dragon Ring, all I know is that his powers are exclusively that he has a ring that connects him to the dragon dimension. And that's it. That's all I got on this character off of the top of my head.
I love the dragon. The dragon dimension's so good.
Like, that is the thing. Like, there's a lot, it's one of those things where you come back to your notes and you're like, yeah, a lot of this sucks and is cringeworthy, but like the phrase the dragon dimension, that does fucking rip 20 years later.
God. I'm like, not because my memory's terrible, I'm like 90% sure the first time I used this character was for a text RPG in some superhero forum when I was about 16. Yeah.
There's just a real magic to the character. Like, there's a real we're not great writers. We don't have a great grasp on this stuff, but we've got raw passion energy that, like, there's a magic to that I think is my favorite thing in the cosmos. All right. So, what's our magical threat? What is the thing? We're going to find out, like, our relationship, where we've been since then. Like, what's the magical threat that is bearing down on us?
How do you like your elder gods?
I was kind of also leading elder. It just kind of feels right if we're like magical characters to fight a legally distinct from Cthulhu that is waking up. Because I'm also thinking about that. There's that one Justice League episode where they also just fight Cthulhu, and they like, there's not really a justification for it. They're just like, hey, this is Justice League. This is the Cthulhu episode.
I'm quickly figuring out if the King in Yellow is public domain. 1895. I have no idea.
You know what?
I
We've
always
already
like the name. It's just a nice name.
it is, and also we've
It's
already
very
done
evocative.
Superman fan fiction on this
Mhm.
stream, so like
Yeah. Yeah.
I've already told copyright to shove it. So
Also,
like
what's our King in Yellow? Who knows? We'll figure it out. It could be nothing like the other ones, but it's just a good evocative name.
it is. The King in Yellow is waking up is our
Mhm.
crisis moment, and
Yep.
that fucking rips. Okay. So we have drawn. So what I'm going to do now, like I said, I'm lightly changing the rules. Traditionally, we would draw 5 cards from the question deck. We would choose a prompt and we would ask it.
Mhm.
What I'm going to do instead is just flip the top 2 cards off of our question deck and we'll go from there. Our first 2 cards are the 3 of hearts
Ooh.
and the 2 of hearts,
Ooh.
which means before we get to that, because I realized I missed a step. So hold this drama in your mind.
Remember that, people.
We have to begin with the prompt associated with the Ace of Clubs.
Yeah.
How do you respond to seeing me again? We can both answer this prompt. We use this to establish our reunion. Then we choose our next prompt. So, how long has it been since we've seen each other?
God, what's a good number? I love time skips. I know they have like a very negative.
I fucking love a time skip.
Yeah, I love a time skip.
Here's the thing.
Especially the longer they are, I think the better they are.
I mean, I not to date myself too
Mhm.
specifically, but like
Now let's
I was in college when DC Comics 52 dropped
Mhm.
and the 1 year later event happened.
Okay.
You are never I can never again capture the level of hype that I felt when DC was just like, every book that you're reading, here's
We're going
a year has happened
Mhm.
and some shit is oh shit, their costume slightly different.
Okay. You said college, which makes me think when I was in college. I was in college. I started college in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
It is now 2023.
So like between 13 and 15 years.
Yeah,
I started college in
good.
2005, so that would be about 13 to 15 years. That feels good. I really like that energy.
Yeah. Because like think about the person you were in college, think about the person you are now.
I love, yeah, that's such a good dynamic. So let me ask you, like, summoner, pronouns for summoner?
So summoner is she, her, but back then it was he, him.
Got it.
She hadn't transitioned then.
Got it. Well, I was gonna ask what's different about summoner. What else is different about like summoner as a character? Like if we are picking this story up post, time skip, what are the other like notable differences about the character from when we would have seen her earlier in like her previous run?
I think she definitely was in her previous run, had like a very loud costume, not a cape, but like a cloak, but a very colorful cloak, a hood, and like a utility belt, like and like very, I don't know, I don't want to say stereotypical because it's not really, but like very superhero.
Sure, very superhero in the aesthetic.
Yeah, and now she's just wearing like a nice dress, like not even a fancy, like a nice comfy dress, like maybe a summer dress if we're in summer. She has her hair down in a braid, long black hair down in a braid. She has tattoos, I think, all over her arms, of different things, just different. And like if you looked at them, if someone like looked at them, it's like, is that a rune? Is that
I gotcha.
Pikachu next to the rune?
Genuinely, my favorite kind of tattoos is the ways like I love so much about looking at someone's tattoos and going, there's the Pikachu, there's the Santa Claus.
Here's a Chibi Cthulhu.
Love it. That makes me so happy.
So arm and back full of tattoos. The dress probably has somewhat of a exposed back. down to, I would say down to below her knees. She looks fuller. She looks not, I don't want to say happier, but she looks more at peace than
Yeah,
she
right,
ever
for sure.
did.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Before she used to have this like anxiety energy.
Yeah,
and
right.
now you don't see her fidgeting.
I like that. I really like that. Dragon Ring, I now in the 15 years since then, a very specific reference point has come up for Dragon Ring that you, Fabby, that I can drop for you, Fabby, that I might not be able to drop for a lot of people. Original, like back in the 15 years ago, Dragon Ring just looked like Drago from AAA Lucha Underground. Just straight up. You've got it in your head already. There's just
I love Drago.
The horns, the shoulder pad. God, Drago fucking rules. Genuinely,
Drago's so cool.
The big tongue,
it's so good.
Kicks ass.
I was not. We can become a wrestling podcast, but I was like marking out for Drago before Lucha Underground, and when he showed up there, because like I was watching him in AAA and stuff, and I was like, yes, people are gonna see this. Yes,
he fucking rules. Yeah.
He's so
imagine a superhero equivalent. Imagine Drago as a superhero is the best way I can describe it. Nowadays, like the chest plate is the same. It's still that very like scaly chest plate. The face is every luchador that has unmasked and swapped their mask for like the bar of black makeup along the eyes. You've got it. It's happened like 100 times.
I hate you because you're right. God,
it's the black makeup across the eyes. It is the very comic book brown trench coat around the chest plate of armor. That like you still see the very dragony chest plate, the makeup on the eyes, but like it's being hidden underneath this big billowy trench coat. And I think this wasn't originally in my head, but it's popped into my head and I'm running with it. I like a dragon tail, and I specifically love the aesthetic that Mike Mignola puts on Hellboy, where the tail sticks out from the back of the brown trench coat, and you just kind of see it ruffle around that.
Yeah,
you get the slightest bit of like a very dragony tail sticking out from the back of the trench coat.
Did he have the dragon tail before?
I didn't. I hadn't thought about it, but no, I kind of like. I'm gonna say other than the face, because I also like the idea that like the face was very much a helmet, and maybe the armor was a helmet before. Everything like you see his hands are much more bestial, and like they are dragon claws. Like everything except the face is like much more bestial, and it is clearly immediately evident that like the dragon dimension is taking over, like that his face is still human, but like everything else is increasingly dragon-esque, whereas before it was very, again using Drago's AAA, it was very guy in a dragon suit. It was a gimmick,
brother.
It was a gimmick, brother. It is now becoming apparent that I am fighting actively to keep it as a work and keep it from becoming
you have
shoot,
worked
brother.
Yourself into a shoot.
I have worked myself into a shoot. Oh god, I love playing games with you. This rules. That's Dragon Ring. Still has the ring, but like it is previously it was a little bit more Green Lantern, where it was just like a slightly chunky ring. Now it's like burning fire, like you just see the energy and the fire billowing off of it at all times. Like it is just unmistakable in it's grown more prominent.
Question, is the ring now like kind of attached to your hand, like has grown into it? I get
a shadow blade or witch blade. Remember witch blade? I get a witch blade vibe where it's kind of like you can tell that like the tail and the body are kind of bleeding from the ring. It's clear that like that is the dragon dimension bleeding into Dragon Ring's like body. All right, we're back. Okay. I hit the pause. I was trying to like click the PDF and I hit the pause button. That's showbiz, folks. Yeah, I really love that. I love that. Yeah, that's so sick. The idea that it's like bleeding from the ring and like you can see that. So I think even I'm gonna go so far as to say like this hand or like my ring hand is like very dragony and my other hand is human because it like hasn't fully like it's one of those like you can kind it's I'm picturing a little bit Zelda from the new game where like it's it gets halfway across or a little cable. And so like I still got the human-y hand. Yeah.
Oh god. No, that's rad. Yeah.
So then
I could spend all day asking you questions about this character's aside. So
likewise. So I gotta throw you the big question. What is Summoner's reaction to seeing Dragon Ring again? We both know that the King in Yellow is waking up. We both know that we are going to have to stop this thing.
Yeah, I think like not surprised at seeing you because she expected this. Like, oh, of course, you're gonna be here. Like, of course, Dragon Ring's gonna be here. This is the type of situation. But like seeing you like that, I think gives her pause. Like she's taken aback from that. Like, like that's what you've been doing the past 15 years. Oh, okay.
I like that.
But I don't think she says anything. I think she's definitely communicating with her eyes, but probably not on purpose.
Yeah.
Just like her eyes definitely open up when she sees you, and she tries to. I think she, as quickly as she catches herself, she tries to turn that down. Like, nope, don't give away anything.
And I think Dragon Ring has the same reaction upon seeing you. But I think what it is very specifically, like, what all of that body language stuff tells me about Dragon Ring is that, like, he's fucking tired. And so, like, I think seeing Summoner, Dragon Ring's reaction is surprise, but, like, you see kind of the grin break out and be like, thanks for coming to work. And, like, kind of like flexes his shoulders a little bit and is clearly in that moment of, like, it's the guy that has not stopped fighting this fight for the last 15 years going like, oh, thank God somebody else showed up for their shift today. Holy shit. I'm so relieved.
I think he definitely gets like a little chuckle out of her Summoner saying that like better late than never, I suppose.
It's just nice to have a familiar face for a change. And I think like he kind of flexes out like the ring arm very specifically, and you kind of see the like rippling of energy from it. And like it does it's that exact line where somebody does the very obnoxious looking like muscle stretches, but you can tell there's that sort of like uncomfortable realization of like, oh, you actually need these like these obnoxious like this is making a difference for you. So it's the arm circle and the neck twist. I'm like, all right, let's get to it.
I think she has a little. She no longer has like that utility belt we talked about before. She has a little purse, a little black purse, and she like opens it up, starts moving stuff, puts like her hand all the way down, even though the purse is this big, like all the way to the shoulder, and then like takes off like a tiny vial, and basically without saying anything, just like pops it and goes like this on your arm. And it's not like, oh, everything's fine. It's just like, oh, you know when you're in pain and you go from a 10 to a 7?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, okay. Like, it still hurts, but like, oh.
And I think that, like, despite the time that it is between us, there is a moment, and actually you kind of see this on his face a little bit, where there's a moment where he's just like, God, fuck, I missed you. We should get to work. And like kind of like quickly brushes past it, but like there's a clear moment.
I think the smile, I think she might try to stop it, but the smile definitely goes on her face, and I was like, Someone has to take care, I guess. She doesn't say take care of you. I think she stops herself. Someone has to take care, I guess. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, all right. So this brings us to our first card. We've got the 3 and the 2 of hearts, which means they are the same suit. So we are drawing our first shift card, which is the 2 of spades.
Okay.
Look at this. Side note, just look at this. I
So
love the artwork
So
that's on this. I
good.
love how much of it is, because it's all public, or most of it, notably, is public domain, like comic art. So much of it is old romance comics, which means it's people just looking, kissing, and then feeling intense emotions about it. It fucking rules.
We need to bring that back. Anyway,
that's the energy we need to bring back in comics very specifically. Wow. Okay, we are hitting the gasoline immediately. The 2 of spades. Someone was jealous of your relationship. Who were they? What did they do to try to drive us apart? And did it work?
I have an idea if you don't have anything.
No, please hit me.
I think it was my ex who I was dating at the time, and it wasn't a good relationship. It was like a bad, abusive relationship. We're going too much detail. It was just a bad time, but she was like the one person that helped. Like it, I think Summoner needed a lot of like affection, attention, and support at the time. And her ex gave it to her, but I think the other person that she was getting that from was from Dragon Ring, and like the ex was like, no, not like if they ever wanted to go have beers together or something, she would be complaining like, why? You're just no, like no. She probably was also some sort of hero because that makes sense, but yeah. Maybe like not a magic hero, right? She was like a more like she was probably the one like, you don't need to deal with this magic stuff. There's burglaries and bank robberies all the time. Do those.
She was the web, and her thing was like a if this is 15 years ago, so it was the mid 2000s. She was a 2006 era like cyber hero. So she was the web, and she was very specifically like internet themed of like, I'm gonna pull information out of the web.
She definitely had like a spider mask, like a cyber spider mask with like the fangs coming out.
Yeah. And the like the kind of the Bane tubes that went to like a backpack a little bit. Yeah.
She was getting all the energy out of the web.
Out of the web. And the web was written in a stylized comic font, so every time she said it, it was just pop up in like a font. Okay, so I think that the thing that we see then is like we both start laughing at the phrase like somebody's got to take care, and like maybe we're at like a ritual site. Maybe there's like a gate that we sealed the King in Yellow at once before, right?
Yeah.
Because I love the idea that like we're laughing, and what that says to me, like the vibe that I get from the moment that's in my head is that like we're here. And we know that this is going to be where we need to be. But we're also here early.
Yeah.
Like
that's the thing about like rituals and stuff like that is like you never know when it's gonna be, but it's usually after you.
It's a lot of
get there early just in case.
It's a lot of sitting around. And so like I like that like we get these flashbacks of the web. We get this like examination of the relationship. And maybe what we're seeing is that like, maybe we've cracked a beer and like, we're actually like laughing like old time. Like the time has slipped, like, even if just for a moment, the time has like slipped away just for a second. And we're kind of laughing before the memories kind of flood back.
Yeah. I kind of have this image of like, a cemetery, like a huge cemetery, like way bigger than you could think of, and we're somewhere there sitting on maybe some tombstones or something. I pull out 2 beers of my pocket dimension purse. And it's just like, yeah, just like I don't think she said. Oh, I don't think she says much, except like she definitely like pulls out the beers, gives you a beer. She takes a beer, opens the cap, puts her hand in, pulls out a slice of lime, puts it on top, offers it to you, and then like pulls out a little thing of like salt, and like the same way she used to have her beers back in the day.
And I think that Dragon Ring kind of sits for a second, like takes the beer and goes, "You want to see something cool?" And like shakes out his hand and like puts out one finger and like a nail extends. And he just in one easy swoop just goes like, and if this goes badly, this is going to be a mess. So just get ready. And like gives like a clean slice of just like the top of the can is popped off effortlessly and just takes a sip. Works every time. I don't know what I was worried about.
You know, they have things for that. Like,
yeah, but it's cooler to use a cool dragon claw. Like, you got to admit.
I think she says nothing. Her cheeks are a little flushed, and she drinks the beer. And like in her head, she's like, "Fuck, it was cool." Fuck, it's like a little Todd bubble. Like, "Fuck, it was cool."
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna flip our next two cards. We have the 3 of diamonds.
Ooh, God, that's so good. I love that so much.
I've never known a love like other girls. Am I wrong to be sorry for myself? I love this deck of cards so much. And the 6 of diamonds.
Oh.
Which is a zombie dragging a man into the grave. But like, hold on. That looks a lot like just Dr. Zaius from the Planet of the Apes, and it has me raising a lot of questions.
I love that deck.
This deck of cards, like this was such a random internet grab just because I needed a deck of cards. But like all of the old, just random art fucking rules. All right, I'm gonna draw another card off of our spades. This is the 5 of spades. A factor out of your control impacted your relationship negatively. What was that factor and how did it affect things?
I have ideas, but I want you to take the lead since I took the lead in the last one.
I think the thing that pops into my head, because I'm thinking about Dragon Ring as a character very specifically. I think, and I'm thinking about this interpretation of Dragon Ring 15 years later. I think that it is truly that there was always, like in a meta and a character sense, Dragon Ring was a character that was always involved in a crisis. It was that there was always something horrifying happening. You know what I mean? Like it is like in the meta sense, Dragon Ring was a character that would show up to give exposition and or get the shit beat out of him in a big comic book event. But like on a personal level, it was that like when you talked to Dragon Ring, anytime he would reach out, it would be like, yeah, okay. The Knights of Camelot are rising and it turns out they're fascists and we got to put them back in the ground.
Who would have known?
Who'd have fucking known? We got to fucking fight King Arthur on a volcano and throw him into the lava.
The special event, Crusades from Hell, sure was something.
Yeah, like it was always that, right? Like it was, and like it was the sense of it, like, and like to an extent, like it was sort of an inevitability of like our line of work of like being involved in cosmic magical crises, but like there was a cost that came from being the guy that was always the person organizing the tactical strike force, of being the like, yeah, unfortunately, like a wizard has decided it's time to restart the universe. Can you again commit yourself to risking life and limb? And it just like, I think that like, what I'm going to propose.
Yeah, talk to me.
The 2 of us are here. The other 6 of our posse are not.
Yeah.
And it has been some number of years since you've gotten the call, but like notably, like you can even assume in the back of your mind that like everybody got this call, that this is one of those like, hey, it's important enough that I got to get the band back together. And the two of us are the two that showed up.
I think it's thinking about those times. I think she always like, yeah, no, it sucks because we're always doing this, and like there's like her relationship, and that there's a wedge there. And I think she was also trying to do college at the time, and she was figuring out gender stuff and all these things. But I think she always dropped everything.
Yeah.
For Dragon Ring. And that became like a huge thing in her relationship and other stuff. And like if something happened, she dropped it for Dragon Ring because it's usually the end of the universe, and two, if I don't go, that fool's gonna go anyway, so I should be going.
And if I can throw something out building off of that, I think that Dragon Ring, I think throwing some gasoline on this fire, Dragon Ring is the one that stopped calling.
Yes.
Because he noticed that, right? Like it was a thing of like, I get the vibe that I get from this character is that like he is aware enough to pick up on that and was like, she's gonna keep showing up, like, and seeing the like consequences in the small talk as we're splitting beers, we're getting sort of like, yeah, unfortunately she left me, like, you know, we were happy, but like I couldn't commit to somebody that like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like Dragon Ring like felt that in a way that was like, I can't burden her with another fucking crisis.
And you know that's and for her it was more like he stopped calling, like,
right.
If you want to get a hold of someone like Dragon Ren, it's not that easy. He needs to be the one, like,
right.
My man out here doesn't probably keep a stable apartment you can show up at. Like,
he spends a lot of his time in the literal dragon dimension.
Dragon dimension. You live like this. It was like, yeah, no, and I think she tried several times to like find you after you stopped calling, and then she kind of got the message, right? And at least in her head, she kind of got the message of like, I'm not wanted, I'm not needed here. And I like a detail a bit spin in my head. I think the last thing we talked about, the last thing I told you before you stopped calling me, is that I told you that I was a woman and that I wanted to transition. And and maybe I said like I want to put like real effort and real and make this is what I want, really make this work. And maybe in your head you were like, oh great, I'll give you some time.
Yeah.
But in my head I went like, oh, I told him this and I never heard from him again.
And then and like, so what that tells me is, I love how much we're getting out of this one card. This rules. What this tells me is that like, for better or worse, like Dragon Ring showed up on your doorstep, or you got like the call, right? Like, however, I think Dragon Ring signals in like a very ridiculous way. Like you get like a rune burned on your wall that's like,
God.
Oh, I guess this is where I gotta show up. And I think
my god, like, I love the idea that whatever you're drinking, either the ice or like the coffee or whatever, it gets the dragon pattern. And then you immediately have to dump it out to like a wall or something, and then it like burns and creates the map. Like,
it's the most extra fucking thing in the world.
I love the idea that she had a space for it. Back in the day, she had a space for it where she would do it, but now that space is full of clothes and a bunch of
oh shit. And like, I think that like when you get the call, like there is this element, and like there is like a weight associated with this of like, to Dragon Ring, like it was nothing. It was just, hey, it's time for me. Like, I'm finally giving you the call. And it's the realization of like, to you, it was just you gave me space, but to me, it was that you didn't talk to me for 15
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Like, basically, her best friend walked away, and maybe he didn't see it like that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like,
Exactly.
she probably got really hurt, right? She
Right.
probably got really hurt because at the end of the day, she does some magic, but like, she's still physically human in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. She doesn't have a lot of protection, so like, she probably got really hurt. And maybe she told you this like because of pain pills or whatever. That's why she confessed like her feelings of like, yeah, I'm a woman, I'm a girl, I want to do this, I want to focus on this, and like, but she doesn't see it that way because she sees like, I told you how I felt, and you laughed. This
Right.
we used to. This is what we did. We saved the world, and then you laughed.
Yeah. 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 I really love this. This fucking rules. All right, let me draw our next cards. I've got the 8 of diamonds, which is a robot, and that fucking rips.
So good.
And I've got the 8 of hearts, which is our
Ooh.
friend legally
God,
distinct from Godzilla.
Gorgonzola, the Italian Godzilla, Gorgonzola.
Gorgonzola, sure. Sure, sure, sure.
I burned down the house. I do not pay the taxes.
So I think so. These are both. Here's what we're gonna do. If this is a draw, but they are different suits, which means that traditionally the character who won the least recently wins, and the losing card is discarded. So I am going to ask. I'm going to give you. So what we're going to do instead, as we're kind of playing with the rules a little bit, I'm going to present both questions, and we can decide which one we want to answer.
That sounds perfect.
All right. The eight of hearts question. Do you remember when you defended me? Or the 8 of diamonds question, which is diamonds are themed after our time apart. Did you ever try to find out what I was up to?
Ooh.
And we can decide which direction those questions go in.
I really like, did you ever try to find out what I was up to?
I think that feels good. That feels like a natural follow-up of what we've just been talking about.
And if you're good with that, I think it would be my character to your character.
That feels good. I like that. I like that.
Dragon Ring, yeah.
I think Dragon Ring, like, are you asking that? I guess, are you asking that question verbatim, or like, is there a how does Summoner approach that question?
I think there's a lull in the conversation after like a laugh or something, and then the silence gets a little bit longer, and because there's comfortable silence, and then there's not comfortable silence, and I think it skips to not being comfortable silence, and then I think she looks up from her drink and looks at you, and then asks, "Did you ever?" Because she did. So she asks, "Did you ever try to find me or figure out what I was doing in all these years?"
And I think that he like pauses for a second, because then I think that there's a moment where like kind of a realization sets on his face. Oh, all the time. And he kind of like pauses.
Yeah.
You seemed happy. You seemed like you, and you seemed happy. And so I couldn't ask you to give that all up to. And he kind of stares off at that gate, like this, like very Stargate-ass gate. He just stares at it for a long time. I couldn't ask you to give it up for something that wasn't the most important thing in the cosmos. And so I let you live. I let you be. I let you have the life that you fought for, and I kept working.
You're such an asshole. I can't. How am I supposed to be angry at you? Still be angry at you when you say that.
I should have said something.
You should have.
I should have. You don't realize that the time has gone until it has.
I spent so many nights just looking at the ceiling, wondering, could I have done something different? Could I have said something different? Is this my fault? Is this your fault? I hated you. I hated me. I hated everyone.
Fuck.
And she takes a sip of her beer.
I think he just like I think he hasn't specifically looked at you as you're saying all of this, and is just kind of staring off at that gate. And I don't even think he says anything other than fuck. I think it's just kind of the moment just kind of settles.
Yeah, I think the silence goes from uncomfortable to not comfortable, but like familiar.
Yeah. We both it's not uncomfortable in the sense that we don't know what the silence is. It's painful in the sense that we know what it is, but it is markedly different.
For sure.
All right, our next two cards. This game fucking rules. I'm loving this shit. This kicks ass. I have drawn the 2 of diamonds.
Ooh.
And the 6 of clubs. On which some shit is unfolding. I'm just gonna let this sit on screen for a hot second. Like, I need to note that the Grim Reaper's just kind of there.
He's just watching.
He's just like, y'all good? Y'all all right?
We all know the Grim Reaper likes to watch, so
apparently. So the higher of the 2 values is the 6 of clubs. The 6 represents the present. And I'm gonna ask you this question. How do you prove that I can still trust you? As I read the question, I realized I read it backwards, and I was like, it might be more interesting if you ask me this, but I think me asking you that is such an interesting pivot that I want to stick with it real badly.
Do you say it in character, or is this implied here?
I think that I think it's implied, but I think it's pretty overtly implied, because I think that like the silence lingers for a while. It is like a long, painful silence. And finally Dragon Ring kind of like hops up a little bit and is like, all right, no, we got to figure out what's the king in yellow is going to walk through this gate, and we got to figure out how to push him back through. Are you feeling up to this? Like, where has your head been at? Like, are you ready to knock this fucker back into the oblivion space, or what's your game plan here?
I think she laughs, because it's very much like, oh, you're back in that mode. You're back in your soldier mode that I've heard so many times. Except this time you don't seem to trust me, right? Because in your eyes, I've been out of the game. And I don't know if she has. I think she's been doing even the smaller stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
Not end of the world stuff, but like tiny magic stuff, helping people with huntings, dealing with poltergeists, dealing with minor devils and demons, and all that sort of stuff. And I think she smiles, and she, like, with one of her nails, caution warning, tiny blood stuff.
Yeah, blood stuff's cool. Yeah. Thank you for checking in, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, in case anyone listening, she, with one of her nails, was a particularly sharp, like her pinky nails, she like makes a tiny cut on her finger, and then she traces the finger on one of her tattoos on some sort of rune or marking, and all her body has like a lightly glow, and she's like, I didn't have any of these before. All of these, each one of them is, remember how I used to make little guys, right? I used to make
Sure. Yeah.
like they were like round and cute, except sometimes they had way too many teeth. I don't do that anymore. I gave away that power for this. Each one of these is one of them. That connection, I made it into this. If I need to, my skin can be made out of rock. If I need to, I can become intangible for a couple seconds. If I need to, I can hit as hard as a train. It's not forever. They burn away the more I use them, and then I need to get that connection back, but I can do this. You might have thought I didn't spend my time doing stuff this past 15 years, but I've gotten stronger, and not just physically. I've dealt with so many things without you, so many small things, and fairies, and devils, and mermaids, and I'm still here. I can do this.
And I think that like he hears all of this, takes it in, takes a long sip of his drink,
Mm-hmm.
points at your shoulder. Is that Pikachu?
Yeah. It was the summons idea. It's a lightning thing. Feld represented. Yeah.
I mean,
I
no,
did like
that was
it. Yeah,
that
yeah.
wasn't a judgment question. I was
No,
just
yeah,
excited to talk about
it's
Pokemon.
Pikachu. It has the heart shaped tail because it's a female Pikachu. It's cute.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's fuck up an Eldritch God.
yeah. Let's fuck up an Eldritch God.
And I think and I love this is a very like comic book beat of like
Mhm.
that's the end of a page, and the next several panels is just us sitting more in
Mhm.
silence as we draw
Mhm.
more cards. Is just like, all right.
I can imagine like let's fuck up an Eldritch God, and then like a full panel of just small, both of us small, and then this
Yeah.
giant cemetery with the gate there, and the knights, and then a tiny like yeah, Bubbles like okay,
Then we just sit for a while.
yeah,
I have drawn the Queen of Diamonds, which is the
woo,
Scarlet Witch,
uh-huh,
and
totally public domain.
And the King of Diamonds, which is Wiz Comics Spy Smasher, Death to Spies in America. And which means we're drawing another shift card. This is the oh, I don't oof. This is the 10 of Spades, which has some I don't know what's going
You don't
on
have
this
to
art.
show it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to show this one
No.
because it's off-putting. But the 10 of Spades and the 10 of Spades question
Mhm.
is, one of you wanted to change the nature of your relationship and the other didn't. What was the proposed change?
I think, and we can change it if this doesn't work, but I think it makes sense that then when she told you she was a woman, I think she also like confessed to you like
Mm-hmm.
that she had feelings for you, and that when she was alone and she was with her partner or she was doing something else, she was always thinking about you. Are you okay? Wanting to be with you, even if it's just being, because this is not the first time we've been alone in a graveyard for hours. Like she would rather do that than do anything else with anyone else. And I think I'm picturing the scene. She's like in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
She has like tubes on her arms, and like her telling you this. And definitely like I don't know. I can imagine Dragon Ring like not looking at her, like looking away during the
Mm-hmm.
whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. No, I absolutely love that, and I think that like God, I really think that Dragon Ring has thought about that for the past 15 years of like I think Dragon Ring, from his perspective, one of the reasons why he was like, she needs to go be happy, she can't be with me, was a sense of like, there was a real sense of like, is this a trauma relationship? Like, is this that we are constantly in life-threatening battles together? Is this a
It might be.
wartime thing? And I think he has been like, I think that like at this moment with the two of us alone in a cemetery, it's like this is the moment where he's like, fuck, is that like he's like what you know, there's kind of a moment where he's kind of pacing and he doesn't say anything, but there is a vibe that you can tell that there's shit on his mind that's very much like a, did I fuck things up? This would have been a disaster, right? Like, had we hooked up, this would have gone as bad as it can go, right? Did I fuck things up? And like, there's like a conscious, you can see the monologue is spiraling in his brain.
I would love that in the background. You just see her with a notebook putting like some seals or runes in like a piece of paper, tearing it, grabbing a rock, putting the rock on top, and making like she's basically making a cage around so that it's not gonna last forever, but maybe it'll contain the fight or whatever. And you're like having this internal struggle, and she's just in the back. Like,
That's fucking
rip
funny.
rock. Okay.
I love that. All right, our next two cards. We have the Queen of Hearts, and more romance
Ooh,
comics,
that's great.
and oh, that's just some good art. This is some Captain. It's marked as Captain Freedom. And this is the Ace of Diamonds. Whop!
What?
Just hit somebody with a 2x4.
Thank you, Captain Freedom.
Thank you, Captain Freedom. So the ace is the higher of the two cards. So the Ace of Diamonds. Diamonds represent our what do diamonds represent? They represent
Time
our
away,
time
right?
apart. Yep.
Yeah.
The question, and we can decide who is asking this, did you ever hope that you'd see me again?
I think it went. I'm okay answering that.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah,
you
yeah.
wanna, yeah. I think it went. Yes, every day, every once in a while. Basically, never. Every day.
Right.
Like, and I think it was like, yeah, like as much as she tried. Like, are you alive? Are you okay? Are you happy? Are you safe? Are you trapped in an interplanar dimension hell somewhere and I have no idea? And like she tried, like she's been in relationships, she's got friends, she has done stuff in her life. She stopped looking for you at a point, like definitely stopped, but she always kept thinking about you because like you could be dead right now. And she was thinking, like, yeah, he could be dead right now. I would never know. I think she would
Yeah.
like scry every now and then, but the dragon dimension's weird, so she couldn't find, and then she was like, "Does it might mean he's alive? Maybe."
Yeah. I like that. And I like the idea, the implication that like the fact that you stayed active and that you were still doing things, but also you were like, he could be dead, implies that like
Yeah.
he was so knee deep in
Mm-hmm.
like pure eldritch
Mm-hmm.
bullshit that it's just like the bits and the rumors that you got of him
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
anytime like you got
Yeah.
enough like courage in your chest to like ask
I
somebody
think. Yeah.
was just like, last time I spoke, he was descending to the bottom of the ocean to punch that which was born before life in the throat. I don't know where he is now.
I'm glad. I'm glad he learned to swim. That's nice. But yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
All right.
God.
This rules. This rules. We have the 6 of hearts. My God, Stanley, no!
No, Stanley!
And the 5 of diamonds, which is some aeroplanes, which means that we're going to answer the 6 of hearts question. Hearts represent the past, and the 6 of hearts, Stanley, no, represent, do you remember when you saved my life? I'm thinking,
this feels like me to you.
This feels like you asking me this, and I think that, like,
yeah, and I think it's, and you can change it, but I think this is like the time before the last time.
Yeah,
the one that ended me in the hospital.
Ended with you in the hospital,
yeah.
And I think that, like,
Yeah.
I think what I remember about that is that we were fucking unstoppable. Like, it was the 2 of us against the Nightmare Coalition, against the emergent entities of every collective bad dream across the cosmos. We were outgunned, outnumbered, like it was hell on earth. You barely made it out. There was a moment where you got like mobbed by just like nightmare critters, and opening a gateway behind me and swarming with 1,000 heads of Bahamut just unloaded on these creatures and like waged war between the nightmare dimension and the dragon dimension. Like, and you know, and I remember doing that because you had saved my life hours earlier. Like, there was a moment where like I was getting drawn into a singularity moment. Like there was a gem that was like crystallized despair that I was floating towards, and then a portal opened and ripped me into it. And like, it was this moment where we were just unbeatable. We
shouldn't have won. We shouldn't have won. It didn't make sense. We shouldn't have won.
We shouldn't have won.
We were just in sync.
We were so in sync and so good together that we could have moved mountains. And I think like, as he is like, I think this is a moment where he's kind of like describing this and staring out that gate, and then the memories kind of flood in of all the times that he barely scraped by a fight without you in the 15 years since. And like, it's kind of settling of like, oh, I think I fucked up real bad.
I can definitely see like, if you're okay with this, every time like that he like got an arm, or not an arm, but like, yeah, he got like a chunk of his shoulder cut off, and then it came back all dragon, right?
Yeah.
And whenever he got like really bad scars, it would heal back all dragon. And it's like, maybe this idea is in your head, like, how much less would this be, would my body be, if I hadn't been alone all this
time? If I hadn't forced myself to be alone. All right, I have the the King of Hearts, which is the bouncer. I don't know what the bouncer deal is, but I'm pro the bouncer.
The bouncer.
And some real war shit going on with the 4 of Hearts, which is that this is our next spade. We are drawing the 7 of Spades. The 7 of Spades is, what is the 7 of Spades? Someone made a negative remark about your relationship that you think about to this day. What was it? I think I have an answer.
Okay.
And I think it was, God, I think it was during that nightmare battle.
Yeah.
I think it was, you know, the Nightmare Coalition. These are all bad dream entities. These are all creatures. These are all beings of pure like despair and horror. I think there was a moment where like I was trapped in like a liminal space, and someone just whispered, loved ones are just an exposed area that is open to a wound. And there's this moment of like, oh fuck.
What if
fuck.
What if when you're hearing that, you just see me die over and over in this liminal space, over and over, see me be torn limb from limb, see me die in 1,000,001 terrible, gruesome ways, and see yourself failing to save me each and every time.
And it's just like, oh fuck, like,
yeah,
shit, like, yeah, and then it adds to that sense of like, I need to let her go be happy because fuck, if I
how
don't,
could anyone be happy here, right?
Yeah, how could anybody be happy doing what we're doing, staring down this gateway? And I think that's exactly what's going through Dragon Ring's head.
And I think you like the panel turns around and she's like, "Hey, DR," and you turn around and she's like, she has the bottle on her forehead and she's like, "Okay, how long do you think I can hold it?"
Oh fuck! Oh fuck! And like immediately you watch the despair and the indecision just like wash away from his face. He's like, "Your record is like 45 seconds. I cannot believe that you've beaten that in the last 15 years."
Oh, not only that, I can do it in one leg, and then immediately falls.
Called it.
Okay, I've done it before.
I don't doubt it. I'm just saying.
There's wind. There's wind here.
And listen.
It's the energies.
Knowing our luck, we were gonna get 44 seconds in, and that gateway was gonna open.
Honestly, would have been a good way to speed the game forward.
You know, testing our luck feels like the best strategy here.
I think her face, you can see the smile immediately leave her face because she thinks like, oh yeah, if the gate opens, then we fight this, and then I never see him again, right? Like the smile immediately fades.
Hoofa, 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 hoofa. I drew the next two cards, and what a note to transition to. I've got here the 7 of diamonds and the 8 of clubs.
Ooh.
The clubs represent the present. How do you acknowledge our past? How do we acknowledge our past? What a card to draw at this moment. Fuck.
I think you're probably laughing or whatever, and she's kind of somber. And she like gets up from wherever she was and walks up to you and looks at you in the eyes and says, "Can I kiss you?"
And I think that like at this moment he just kind of pauses and like I think that there's this moment where like his face is racked with like all of that indecision floods about.
How do you acknowledge the past?
And then just kind of like there's this it's a 2-panel spread. One panel is like racked with terror and the other panel is just perfectly calm. And it's like, yeah, of course. And then we get a full page spread of us finally kissing. And our next two cards, we have the Jack of Hearts and the Jack of Clubs, which means that we are I'm going to read us both questions. The Jack of Hearts. The Jack of Hearts. Do you remember when you saw me at my lowest point? Or the Jack of Clubs. How do you start an argument with me? I kind of like... It's a small moment that we can quickly skip to, but like there is a great beat of like we kiss, and the next panel. So I do think that we should revisit. We should revisit the duo. Like I do think that we should revisit the Flying Falcon strategy. I know that you've brushed it off in the past. I know that you have said it is nonsensical.
I think she slaps you. Not like super hard, but I think she slaps you. And then like takes a deep breath. And I was like, Flying Falcon doesn't work. Not if it's only two of us. It opens us up for extra attacks if we're not careful. Flying Falcon needs at least 6 people in the B formation.
You're
We
right.
cannot do it ourselves.
Yeah, but I feel like if we were and ideally you get 6 people because you want to cover contingencies, but like if we were in perfect unison, like if we were perfectly in sync, I think that I have a feeling that you're not going to want to listen to reason as I break this down, so I'm willing to drop it, but know that I am not happy about this.
No, screw that. Come on. She starts grabbing more rocks and puts him on top of a grave. Puts them in the formation. Explain to me how we do that with 2 people.
Okay, like move
Explain
all of
to me
these
how
out.
do we do that to 2 people?
Move all of these out of the way, and then
Okay.
look what happens here. Look. You see, here's the king in yellow.
Uh-huh.
There's his ghostly throne.
Uh-huh.
If we were to
Wait, that's
but
the
no.
beetle. It moved. Let me.
move that beetle out of the
Okay.
way.
Yeah.
If well, actually, yeah, no, I would. Okay, yeah, but look at this.
Yeah.
If we factor in the ghostly throne as a third person and we tilt the angle of the formation this way, look what happens when we both move in for the kill. Do you see how that changes if we agree that this stationary object is a third part of the formation?
That's just a reverse T attack, and that never works.
It never works because you never put your heart into it.
How am I supposed to put my heart into flanking more than I already do?
You know what? I'm just gonna say it's gonna come up.
No, okay, we'll do it. No, you're fine. You're fine.
We know.
No. You know what we're doing, right? So we'll do it. We'll do what you say.
If you don't,
we'll figure it out. The king in yellow will fall to a reverse T formation. I'm sure.
When you put it like that, obviously it's not going to work because you're not committing to it as the Falcon.
I'm telling you right now, I'm committed 100%.
Now I'm not committed. Now I'm not going to commit, and then it's going to cause the whole thing to go up in the air. You know what? Drop it. We're going to drop it.
I think she kisses you again at the end.
I think that feels right. I think that he openly accepts it and is just like, okay, all right, good. We have the ace and the queen of clubs.
Ooh, same suit.
Shift card. We have 2 shift cards left. We have the king. We have the king of spades. We have Thunderbolt. And I am reading the king of spades. Spades represent the shift. Well, a single person cannot be your whole world. Who else were you close with, and what could they provide that your relationship could not?
Do you want to take this one?
I think I've got a thought on this. I think going so hard into what we've already established. I think Dragon Ring didn't call anybody else. I think that the other 6, we said earlier, the other 6 people are not here.
Yeah.
And I think there are we get almost single panel vignettes of the other 6 sort of arcane heroes that would have been here, not really aware that this is unfolding, not that this really is happening. Yeah, exactly. There was an entire group that he didn't call. And we kind of see that interspersed with panels of Dragon Ring and Fabby. My brain went to Dracula.
Summoner.
My brain went to Dracula, and
we're doing Dracula?
Dracula was one of our team. There's the Dracula of
yeah, I love Draculora.
Draculora is really good. Fuck. Draculora and Dragon Ring sitting at a bar, cocktails in hand, both covered in blood, just sipping the bar, and Draculora is that outfit is atrocious. It's I watched a literal horseman of the apocalypse get split into half today, and that outfit is in fact the most upsetting thing that I've seen. And like, it's the two of us sipping a cocktail and um we get little glimpses that like there were each of these different lives and different selves and different parts of Dragon Ring that were there for different members of the team that he just didn't. And like over time, he didn't bring them in. He just, it was like, they're better off. They have their own lives and their own needs, and I'm going to let them go. And when it came time to face the Yellow King, like, or the King in Yellow, he didn't really ask if they were interested. He asked Summoner because he was pretty sure that she would be on board.
Katsu, all these other people, the Purple Imp and Inspector Armadillo.
Inspector Armadillo. Oh god, I love
the premier, the world's best detective, Inspector Armadillo.
Yep, absolutely.
And everything else, everyone else.
I really thought you were going to say Inspector Spectre. There's Inspector Armadillo, and there's also Inspector Spectre, and
they did a comic. They did the Inspectors for a while.
Yep. And notably, they fucking hate each other.
Oh yeah, no.
They do not get along. All right. Yeah, and I think that like there is this moment of like, this was for us. Like this was a chance to rebuild things with you, because I didn't think I could rebuild things with anybody else. And with that, I've drawn our next two cards. We have the King. Which is Adam Man. Love Adam Man. And then we have the 5 of clubs. So these are both clubs, which is our last this is our last shipped card. And I was all ready for the drama of that. I was not ready for what it was. Behold, do you believe now that I am death? Holy moly. I don't like that I've been flashed by the Grim Reaper today, but so be it.
Oh yeah, or old enemy, kitty baby, the Grim Reaper exhibitionist.
Yeah, I was not ready. I was not ready for the Grim Reaper today. Oh, what a good last question. Even with your teamwork, you're not always able to succeed. When was a time you both failed, and why do you still blame yourself for it?
Is it that night again?
I think it is that night again. I think
there's definitely like, she thinks it's her fault, right? Like you saved me. I made a mistake. I overextended myself. I did something. I wasn't paying attention. I fell for a trap. And then I put you in a position that you had to save me. And then that cost everything else. If I hadn't done that, it would have been just a normal night like all the other ones.
See, and I think Dragon Ring thinks the same thing. I think it was, I let the fear that you would get hurt become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think it was like, I hesitated at the wrong moment, and it led to you getting hurt. Like if I had been bolder, it would have led to you like being okay. And that might have, that might have instilled doubt in me that things would have been okay. Like that might have been the thing that would have changed things, but instead I hesitated when I shouldn't have, and it led to you overextending yourself. It led to you getting hurt. So I think there is this lingering fear that like we both hold that failure in our own hearts, and like in the moment before we say that out loud, the gateway opens and a throne starts to emerge from it. As the
I love the idea that the gateway opens and like a cushion emerge from it,
Mm,
and then the throne starts building itself from the graves.
that's so
Parts of the
fucking
graves
sick.
start building around, creating the throne.
That's sick. That's sick. And as the king in yellow starts to emerge, with the information that was uncovered, we determine whether we're able to get along with each other enough to save the world or not, and how we save the world or how we fail to. And then if they survive, we describe the aftermath and whether they remain on good terms or they go their separate ways. I think that we pushed the king in yellow back through the gateway. I think that like we are at our best unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. We do the damn flying bee and it works. I call it. We're doing something else, and I just call it on the fly.
And we pull off the Falcon maneuver.
The Falcon maneuver works. The throne actually helped.
There's definitely a moment where it works. Dragon Ring just steps back and goes, "The throne was a third party." Yeah, we pushed the king in yellow back through, and what is, I guess the big question is, what does the aftermath look like? Like we save the day. There is the big hero moment. We're able to protect one another. It really like step in and make sure that the other person doesn't get hurt. I guess the question is, do we remain on good terms or go our separate ways?
I think after we seal the gate, destroy the gate, once we're getting ready, because like we have created, we had ways to like stopping before coming in, but we have created enough ruckus, enough noise that like cops are gonna show up and maybe regular heroes are gonna show up, and we probably want to get the hell out of here. I think she just finishes grabbing her stuff and looks at you and kind of puts the ball on your court. Doesn't say anything, just like looks at you, puts the ball on your court, like.
And I think wipes his bloody nose, and is like, "I got a job. You want in?"
I think she laughs and just nods her head.
And the next thing that we see is Castle Draculaura is every bit a monster mash. It is like there are rave lights blasting, there are ghosts and ghouls dancing, there is a knocking at the door. Somebody opens it, and Dragon Ring and Summoner are just standing out there. "Hey, can we chat?" And that's game.
Yeah.
That ruled. Oh my god, that was so much fun. I fucking love this game. That was cool as hell. That was so much fun. Shit. I'm so happy.
No, this game's great. Yeah, that was so good.
Thank you for joining me, Fabby. This was fantastic.
Always, literally always. Every time that we've done one of these, it's like, yeah, no, Jeff, you have a weird idea. Let's go. Let's go every single time.
That makes me unbelievably happy to hear. It is a responsibility that I do not wield lightly. I appreciate
Last time we
this.
played a game together, I was God Garfield. This time, we had so much angst. I cannot wait to see what next time brings.
I was just thinking about that doing the job game like recently because it fucking was great.
That's so good.
Well, before we throw it back to me in the future, where can people find you and your work online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter because I'm still there for some. It's just convenient. Listen, you can find me on Twitter at Fabby_Garza. There you'll have links to everything I'm doing. If you want to support me, there's a coffee link there. There's a link to whatever podcast I'm doing. There's an upcoming podcast. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's horror team. It definitely, I'm really excited. We just did session 0. I really want to talk about it, so please follow me there. We have Eidolon. You can find that in your podcatcher of choice, Eidolon Playtest. And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can also find that on Patreon, Eidolon Become Your Best Self. And if if you don't use Twitter like a normal person, like you shouldn't be
like a
using
person
Twitter,
that loves themselves, takes
yeah,
care of
and you
themselves. Yeah.
wanna reach out to me either for voice work, for actual play work, for anything, sensitivity consultant, game dev, you can find me at my new email, fabbgarza@gmail.com. That's FABBY and then B for bear, which is my middle name, Garza at gmail.com.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us. If you're watching this, we're going to throw it over to a break screen and then I will hop back in the future. But please also take the time. There are links in the chat. There are links below. There's a QR code on screen. Please, we encourage you to donate to the Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund. We've got some stretch goals and giveaway incentives.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful thing. It is why we're here today. It is why we are playing these games. It is the purpose of this fundraiser. We hope that you will donate or share the stream to encourage other people to donate. But for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can check in with donation totals and check in with the chat. All right. Bye, everybody.